The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. The Chronicles of Narnia 3 by C.S. Lewis. Swept into adventure. Lucy sat in her room, the scent of the sea wafting through the open window, mingling with the musty aroma of old books. Her gaze was fixed on the painting of the ship, the Dawn Treader, its sails billowing as if caught in a silent gale. The vibrant colors of the artwork seemed to dance in the sunlight that spilled across the canvas. Eustace, her cousin, was sprawled on the bed, his attention divided between a toy train set and the distant sound of a real locomotive chugging along outside, a reminder of his longing for control and order in a world that often felt too large and unpredictable. Edmund, her brother, was hunched over his homework, the scratch of his pencil, a steady rhythm in the quiet room. Without warning, the room began to spin, a whirlpool of color and motion. Lucy's heart raced as she felt an invisible force tug her towards the painting. "What's happening?" she gasped, her voice tinged with both fear and wonder. Eustace dropped his toy train, his face draining of color as he stammered, "Lucy, what's going on?" Edmund leapt to his feet, his homework forgotten as he declared, "We're being pulled into the picture." In an instant, they were swept off their feet and plunged into the churning sea depicted in the painting. They emerged, gasping and spluttering, onto the deck of the Dawn Treader, its sails a canvas of royal purple that fluttered like the wings of a great bird. The ship's ornate figurehead, a gilded dragon with eyes like emeralds, seemed to gaze ahead with a life of its own. The deck beneath their feet was a tapestry of wood, each plank and beam a testament to the shipwright's art. Eustace, still clinging to Lucy, was the very image of dismay. His world of trains and timetables had vanished, replaced by the vast, unpredictable expanse of the sea. The briny air filled his lungs, and the sway of the ship set his head spinning. Edmund, on the other hand, stood with a sailor's steadiness, his eyes reflecting the spark of adventure and the wisdom of past trials. King Caspian, noting their disorientation, spoke of recent troubles on the seas, a mysterious fog that swallowed ships whole, and whispers of a dark form lurking beneath the waves. His words hung heavy in the air, promise of challenges to come. As the Dawn Treader cut through the water, leaving white foam in its wake, the cousins felt the weight of the unknown pressing upon them. Yet, amidst the fear and excitement, a bond of unity began to form, a silent vow to face whatever lay ahead, together. The bonds of servitude. The morning sun had barely risen when the crew of the Dawn Treader found themselves surrounded by a group of rough-looking men. The leader, a black-haired man with a scar across his cheek, sneered at them. "Well, what have we here? A little lost, are we?" Lucy, Edmund, and Eustace exchanged worried glances as they were quickly disarmed and tied up. The crew was herded onto a dirty ship, the stench of unwashed bodies and despair heavy in the air. In the dim light below deck, they could see others who had been captured, their eyes hollow with defeat. Pug, the slave trader, walked among them, appraising his new merchandise. "This one looks strong," he said, eyeing Eustace. Eustace glared back, but there was a hint of fear in his eyes that he couldn't quite hide. Reepicheep, though bound, managed to bite one of the traders on the ankle. "I am not for sale," he declared defiantly. As the day wore on, Caspian leaned in close to Edmund, using the movement of the ship to mask his whispered words. "We need to get out of here. I have a plan." He revealed his identity to a sympathetic captive, Lord Byrne, who was recognized by his noble bearing and insignia on his worn clothing. Lord Byrne had been taken captive while trying to escape Governor Gumpus's rule, and was eager to join forces with Caspian. Together they plotted their escape. That night, under the cover of darkness, Caspian's voice rang out clear and authoritative. "People of the Lone Islands, hear me. I am Caspian, King of Narnia, and I call upon you to aid us in our fight for freedom." His words echoed through the night, stirring the hearts of those who had long suffered under Governor Gumpus's rule. A murmur of excitement spread among the captives and the islanders who had gathered in secret. Lord Baron stepped forward, his voice steady. "We stand with you, King Caspian. Tonight we reclaim our dignity." The revolt began as the islanders and captives worked together to overpower the guards. Pug tried to flee but was caught by Caspian and his friends. "You have no heart," Caspian retorted, cutting the ropes that bound his friends. In the chaos of the battle, it was unclear who struck first, but soon the deck was littered with unconscious guards. As the sun began to rise, the crew of the Dawn Treader emerged victorious, their bonds finally broken. They stood on the deck, breathing in the fresh air of freedom. Eustace, his fear now a distant memory, smiled at Reepicheep. "Thank you," he said, "for never giving up on me, even when I had given up on myself." Reepicheep nodded in return, his eyes wise and compassionate. "We all need a reminder that we are stronger than we think, Eustace. It is in these moments of darkness that our true character is revealed." With their spirits renewed and their resolve stronger than ever, they set sail once more, leaving the memories of captivity behind, of dragons and redemption. In the Valley of Shadows, Eustace stood alone, the oppressive silence around him broken only by distant waterfalls. The sun's rays barely reached the valley floor, creating a mosaic of light and dark across the grassy expanse, scattered with rocks and blackened patches. As he pondered his predicament, a rustling sound drew his gaze to a dark hole at the cliff's base, where a creature with a lead-colored snout and red eyes emerged, Sleepless, the dragon. Eustace's heart raced, not from fear, but from the realization that he was no longer the boy he once was. Sleepless approached, its presence both menacing and majestic. "Who are you?" Eustace asked, his voice betraying a hint of awe. "I am Sleepless, guardian of this realm," the dragon replied, its voice echoing like the wind. "You too are a dragon now, bound to this land." Eustace recoiled, his newfound wings fluttering. "But I must return to my friends, to the ship," he insisted. Sleepless's laugh, cold and resonant, filled the valley. "You cannot deny your true self. Acceptance is your only path." Desperation crept into Eustace's voice. "I don't want this. Is there no way back?" "There is one," Sleepless said, its gaze intense. "Seek Aslan. He will show you the way to redemption, though it requires confronting your deepest fears and letting go of selfish desires. But be warned, the journey will be arduous, and the path uncertain. Allow me." Eustace's determination kindled within him. "I'll do it," he declared, his voice resolute. "Please, tell me more about Aslan." Sleepless inclined its head. "Aslan is the great lion, a guide who has walked with many on their paths to redemption. Seek him out, and he will show you the way." With that, Sleepless turned to retreat into the shadows. "Wait!" Eustace called out. "What is your name?" The dragon paused, its form almost obscured by the darkness. "Some call me Sleepless," it replied. "Now go, Eustace. May Aslan grant you the strength to face what lies ahead." As Sleepless disappeared into the cave, Eustace felt an unsettling mix of emotions. Fear, doubt, and a sense of purpose. He knew that his journey toward redemption would not be easy, but he was determined to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Taking a deep breath, he spread his dragon wings and launched himself into the sky, setting off on a quest that would forever change him. Little did Eustace know that his encounter with Sleepless and his quest for redemption would lead him on a path of self-discovery, where he would confront his inner demons, learn the true meaning of friendship, and emerge as a changed and wiser individual. The Sea Serpent's Challenge. The Sea Serpent's Challenge. The Dawn Treader sailed smoothly until a monstrous shape broke the surface of the sea. A sea serpent, with eyes like burning coals and a mouth full of dagger-like teeth, encircled the ship. The crew, initially paralyzed by fear, soon felt a surge of determination to protect their beloved ship. "Archers, to your positions!" Caspian commanded, his voice cutting through the panic. Arrows flew, but they bounced off the serpent's scales as if they were mere pebbles. Eustace, now in his dragon form, used his newfound strength to aid the crew, his fiery breath providing a distraction to the serpent. "We must push, not pierce. Everyone to the starboard side," Reepicheep the valiant mouse directed. Lucy, with her quick wits, dashed below deck and returned with an axe. "This will cut through the coils that bind us," she explained, rallying the crew. Together they lined up against the serpent's massive coils. "Push!" Reepicheep squeaked, his tiny paws against the scaly hide. With a heave of collective strength and Eustace's dragon might, the crew pushed against the serpent. The ship creaked and groaned, the carved stern snapping off, but the serpent's loop loosened. "We're free," Edmund exclaimed as the Dawn Treader slipped from the serpent's grasp. The crew collapsed, panting and laughing, their camaraderie shining through their exhaustion. Eustace, no longer the cowardly boy they knew, was cheered for his bravery. "Today, we've not just defeated a serpent, we have triumphed through unity," Caspian declared, his eyes shining with pride. The crew echoed his sentiment, their voices rising in a chorus of triumph. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of gold and crimson, the Dawn Treader sailed on, its crew bound by an unbreakable trials and enchantments. As the Dawn Treader sailed onward, a sense of unease settled over the crew. Lucy, Edmund, Eustace, and Reepicheep exchanged glances, each sensing that something was amiss. "What sorcery is this?" Eustace whispered, his eyes darting nervously around the deck. Lucy shivered, wrapping her arms around herself. "There's magic at work here, but I can't quite grasp it." Before anyone could respond, a thick fog descended, enveloping the ship in a blanket of white. "We should turn back," cried one of the sailors. "This is no natural fog, and we're sailing blind." "Nay, we press on." Caspian's voice rang out, firm and determined. "We did not come this far to be deterred by a bit of mist. Keep a steady course, and we shall weather this trial." As the ship forged ahead, the fog seemed to thicken and the air grew colder. The crew huddled together for warmth and comfort. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream pierced the air, followed by the sound of thrashing and splashing. "Man overboard!" someone shouted. The crew rushed to the side of the ship, straining their eyes to see through the fog. "Fear not, for I am unharmed," came the calm reply of Reepicheep. "It seems I have stumbled upon an unexpected swim." Lucy peered into the mist, her heart pounding. "Reep, are you hurt? Can you swim back to the ship?" "Fear not, dear Lucy," the valiant mouse replied. "I shall swim alongside until we reach clearer waters or a more favorable shore." A collective sigh of relief escaped the crew, but their respite was short-lived. As the ship sailed on, the fog lifted, revealing a tranquil island surrounded by crystal-clear waters. Caspian nodded, his brow furrowed in concentration. There's magic here. We must proceed with caution." As the ship drew closer, Lucy stepped forward, her eyes fixed on the shore. "I don't know, but we can't just leave them like this. There must be something we can do." "Indeed, Your Majesty," Reepicheep chimed in. "Perhaps we can find a clue or a charm to break this enchantment. I, for one, am eager to explore this island and uncover its secrets." Caspian turned to the crew, his eyes shining with determination. "We shall divide into groups. Some of us will remain with the ship, while the rest of us venture forth to unravel this mystery. Be on your guard, for we know not what dangers or enchantments lie ahead." The crew nodded, their faces set with resolve. Together they stepped foot on the island, their hearts pounding with anticipation and a hint of trepidation. Little did they know that this island held secrets that would test their courage, friendship, and the very limits of their imagination. The island's air was thick with enchantment, and the crew felt it with every step they took. Lucy led the way, her heart filled with a mix of fear and excitement. They moved cautiously, aware that each step could trigger a spell or reveal a hidden danger. As they ventured deeper into the island, the foliage grew denser, and the path became less clear. Suddenly, Lucy stopped in her tracks. "Look," she whispered, pointing to a clearing ahead where a table laden with food stood. It was an inviting sight, but the crew hesitated, sensing a trap. "It's enchanted," Lucy said, her voice barely above a whisper. "The food. It's meant to make us sleep, just like those men on the shore." Caspian stepped forward, his hand on his sword. "We must resist the temptation. Remember, we're here to break the spell, not fall victim to it." The crew nodded in agreement, their resolve hardening. They skirted around the table, giving it. Lucy's reflection. Lucy stood before the towering book, its pages alive with enchantments. "Should I?" she whispered. "No," said Aslan suddenly beside her. "Remember who you are, Lucy. True beauty lies within." Lucy nodded, closing the book. She turned to face Aslan. "I just wanted to be liked, to be seen as beautiful." Aslan's mane brushed against her cheek. "You are already beautiful, and you are loved, more than you know." Lucy smiled. "Thank you, Aslan. I needed to hear it." Together they walked out of the room, leaving the book of spells behind. As they strolled through the sunlit corridor, Lucy felt a newfound sense of peace. She was ready to face whatever lay ahead with Aslan by her side. As they emerged from the corridor, Lucy's gaze fell upon the duffel puds bouncing in the distance. "They're quite endearing, aren't they?" she remarked to Aslan. "They are indeed," Aslan agreed. "And they have been eagerly awaiting your help." Lucy nodded, her resolve firming. "Then let's not keep them waiting any longer." With that, she stepped forward, ready to embrace the next enchantment, the next challenge, and whatever else her journey had in store. Sleeper's enchantment. The Dawn Treader sailed into a serene bay, its waters mirroring the sky. Lucy, Edmund, Caspian, and the crew stepped onto a timeless shore, facing a silent valley that hinted at forgotten life. Lucy's gaze caught on three figures at a stone table, their hair woven around the tableware. "Are they dead?" she whispered. "They live, but under a spell," Caspian observed, noting their rhythmic breathing. As night fell, the crew, vigilant and curious, camped near the sleepers. The night deepened, and a shift in the heavens signaled a change. From a hillside, a tall girl with a candle approached, her aura one of regal command. "I am the Lady of the Green Kirtle," she announced to Edmund's inquiry, "and I watch over those bound by sleep." Lucy, brimming with caution and wonder, inquired about breaking the spell. The lady affirmed it was possible, requiring a pure heart and a selfless act. Eustace, moved by the gravity of their plight, offered himself in their stead. "Your willingness alone has lifted the curse," the lady revealed, and a glow of warmth awakened the sleepers. Their gratitude echoed in the valley as they regained consciousness. With a new day, the crew witnessed the rise of the three enchanted noblemen, key figures in their quest, now liberated. Their journey had been fraught with challenges and perils, yet it was their shared resolve and bravery that prevailed. As the Dawn Treader set sail, the three noblemen, once shrouded in slumber's grip, now stood alongside their liberators, gazing toward the horizon with eyes wide open to the promise of the journey ahead. Together they sailed into the burgeoning light of the morning, ready for the adventures that awaited them. Voyage to the World's End. The Dawn Treader sailed on, gliding over a glass-like sea. Lucy observed the ship's shadow on the seabed below, while the sun cast a golden light over the world. "Look!" Edmund exclaimed, pointing to the horizon where sea and sky met in shimmering light. "Is that the end of the world?" Caspian at the helm replied with a mix of excitement and apprehension, "It may well be." As they drew closer, the air filled with an ethereal song of farewell in an unknown yet understandable language. Lucy turned to find Repetshep, the valiant mouse, beside her. "This is where I must leave you," he said, determined. "My journey continues, but yours ends here." Lucy protested, not wanting to part with their brave companion. "I must go alone," Reepicheep insisted, destined for Aslan's country. At the world's edge, a waterfall cascading into nothingness, an old man with a silver beard and his daughter, a tall girl in blue, awaited. "You have come far," the old man said, his voice echoing wisdom. But the true journey lies ahead." Caspian acknowledged the weight of his words, and they feasted on the food and drink provided by the tall girl, finding renewed strength. As they ate, their weariness faded, and they felt a sense of purpose. When the time came for Reepicheep to depart, he climbed to the prow and leaped into the waterfall, saluting his friends. "Goodbye, brave Reepicheep," Lucy whispered, tears in her eyes. "His dream leads him on," Edmund said comfortingly. They watched Reepicheep disappear into the light, a small but resolute figure against the unknown. Turning the Dawn Treader around, they began their journey home, the memories of their voyage and the daring mouse forever etched in their hearts. Reepicheep's dream. The Dawn Treader sailed on, the sea calm and the sky a tapestry of twilight hues. Reepicheep stood at the prow, his eyes fixed on the horizon where the sky met the sea in a line of shimmering gold. The air was filled with a sweet fragrance, and a gentle breeze carried the distant sound of celestial music. "Look!" cried Lucy, pointing towards the great wave that stood still as if it were glass. "It's like nothing I've ever seen." Edmund joined her side, his gaze following her outstretched hand. "It's the end of the world," he whispered in awe. Caspian emerged from below deck, his face alight with the thrill of discovery. "This is it, the world's end. And beyond that wave, Aslan's country." Eustace, no longer the sulky boy they knew, stood beside Reepicheep, a look of wonder on his face. "I never thought I'd see such wonders," he said. Reepicheep turned to him, his voice steady and sure. "This is where our paths diverge, my friends. My dream lies beyond that wave, and I must follow it alone." "But you can't just leave us," Lucy protested, her voice tinged with sadness. The valiant mouse looked at her, his eyes softening. "Dear Lucy, this has always been my quest. To reach Aslan's country is my heart's deepest desire." Caspian stepped forward, placing a hand on Reepicheep's shoulder. "You've been more than a friend, Reepicheep. You've been an inspiration to us all." With a nod of respect, Reepicheep's eyes twinkled with the reflection of the stars above. "And you, King Caspian, have shown the heart of a true explorer. But now, I must go where no Narnian has gone before." With those final words, Reepicheep turned to the great wave, his tiny boat ready at the water's edge. He climbed in, taking up the oars with a determination that belied his size. The crew of the Dawn Treader gathered at the ship's side, watching as their friend approached the towering wave. As Reepicheep rowed closer, the wave seemed to part for him, a path opening to the beyond. He did not look back as he crossed the threshold, his figure growing smaller until it disappeared altogether. Lucy wiped away a tear, feeling a mix of sorrow and pride. "He's gone to Aslan's country," she said softly. "Yes," said Edmund, "and he's left us with memories of courage and friendship that will last a lifetime." Caspian raised his hand in salute to the brave mouse. "To Reepicheep, the most valiant of us all." The crew echoed his sentiment, their voices carrying across the waters. "To Reepicheep." And as the Dawn Treader turned to make its way back to Narnia, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter, as if in honor.